with the magic card, the triple tier slider, and a large oval window card. So I'm doing something a little bit different today. I'm trying to see if I can see my own comments. So hang on a second while I kind of refresh my phone to see if I can see myself. Oh, there I am. Okay, so I also have my mom here doing the camera and also reading comments. So if you've never taken my class before, feel free to ask questions. Questions do take a little bit to come in, so their questions are delayed by, I don't know, 30 to 45 seconds. So if you ask a question immediately, I may not answer immediately, but we will try to get to your questions. But I do, after doing this for a while, I do go slow and I repeat, and you may say, why is she repeating this like 5 times? That's why I do it, is I repeat it because I'm giving you time to ask those questions, and by repeating it so many times, I've found out that I usually don't have that many questions. So we're gonna start just up here with me talking for a little bit, and then we're gonna go down to the table where we start working. So I'm just gonna, if you've never taken my classes and if you get behind or flustered, no reason to just, throw your arms in the air and say I'm done, because you can always watch this later. So you can start and stop me and watch this later. And I do get quite a few people saying that they actually will watch the first time and then they'll go back because it'll be saved on this page, and then I will also do it on YouTube. So I get a lot of people saying, I watch you the first time and then I go back and I do the replay, and then I can start and stop you and I can work at my own pace. So, but feel free if you have questions to ask, like to redo something, I can redo something. Product questions, we probably won't answer, like if you ask a product number or things like that, I won't answer that live. I'll go back and I'll review the comments and then I'll answer those types of questions. So, because today we're gonna start, and I'm starting with the magic card, which we have everything pre-colored. So we're gonna assemble that. And then we're gonna go, and I'm gonna go off, and it's going to be a couple minutes, and Heather from Stamps by Judith is going to come on, and she's going to go on to the coloring with you of the next 2 things that you need, or the things that you need for the next 2 cards. So it's going to be a little bit, and usually you have to refresh to go from my live feed once it ends to her live feed. So she'll be live on this page. She'll come on about 2 minutes after I'm done. I told her just to talk for a little bit, so that gives people a chance to find her live feed, because again, you might need to refresh. And then after she's done coloring, then we're gonna go on and we're gonna do the triple tier card. So anyways, so we're gonna start with the magic card. So I'm just gonna start talking about the magic card first. We do have 2 different magic cards. So you do have, this is the rectangle one, which we're using today. Then we also have the square one that we're using, or that we're not using today. For layering on this is the oval one, I'm sorry. So we have the square one I showed you first, then we have the oval one. And for layering on the oval one, we do have these oval windows, okay? So everything in that magic card is pre-cut, with the exception of this little slider die. So you can hand cut this, or you can use the die to cut it. We used the die to cut the one in your kit, and I'll talk about that. And usually I do one in color, and I forgot to die cut one in color today, so we're just gonna have to deal with that. So anyways, in your kit, and let me just show you those before we go down to the table. In the kit you get this window. So it's a T-shaped piece. It's got scores on it and your window pre-cut. Then you get a piece of cardstock. It's a half-sheet piece of cardstock. Yours came pre-printed. So they normally are not pre-printed in your kit. They're blank, okay? We just did this for class. And then you also have acetate. The acetate, again, does not come pre-printed in the 8-count kit. We did that for class. Now, for acetate, we're just going to talk about that for a minute. When we used to do magic cards, before StazOn was a thing, the acetate comes as this whole big sheet. So we would stamp our image on a white sheet of paper in the 4 quadrants. We would put that in our photocopier, we would run our acetate through, and then we would cut it apart. Nowadays, there's StazOn. So your acetate still comes as an 8.5 by 11. You cut it into quarters, and then you stamp it with StazOn. Or if you want to, you can still run things like I ran these through my laser printer. So you can do that. Now for placement on your acetate, you just want to make sure that your image falls within your window. So when I stamped that, I made sure he was where I wanted him. Now you can see that he's off center in there, and that's because I have my words right here. And the words end up being really close to the edge. So anyways, so we're gonna go down to the table now. So we'll point down, and we're just gonna talk about, and I don't even have my sample because I sent it to Heather. So she has my sample, and I didn't redo it because I thought I'll just redo my sample with you at the same time. So for our window, the bumps, there's bumps. The bumps are always down. So if this is your belly, you want to face it towards your belly, bumps down. And we're just going to talk about on my sample, which you can see a picture of, because in your directions there was an actual picture. So I do have blue around there. So I did use a blue ink pad and a blending brush. Before blending brushes were a thing, there's stipple brushes. The one thing you don't want to do is fold that up. You don't want to get ink right here because you'll see that through the window. Now I'm going to break my rule for the first time ever, but we'll get to that in just a minute. So first of all, I'm adding ink around my window frame. These 2 sheets end up being on the back. This ends up being folded inside on the back. Now usually I put post-it notes right here, so hang on one second because I think I have post-it notes up here. If you want to mask those off, or if you're going to stamp on this frame, you can mask it off at the scores. So you don't have to, but if you don't like anything on the back, that's where you're going to mask it off. Now you could mask it off here, but like I said, all of this will be inside of our card. But do not do that. Do not fold it up. So hang on a second because I'm going to see if I can see comments. Oh, there, now I can see comments. So anyways, we're going to start with our blending brushes, where I think I can see my comments. When I'm using my blending brushes, and stipple brushes will work too, just for adding a little color, or a sponge, or you could do direct to paper, or if you have a stamp you want to use, this is really your card. But if you're going to use blending brushes, I like to take my thumb, hold my thumb behind the head of my blending brush, circular motion to pick up my color, do my color off on my scratch paper a little bit, and then onto my project. So circular motion to pick up my color, circular motion to put my color down, and you can test it, and then just add a little bit of color around your frame. And pick up more color as you need it. And again, this is more of an optional step. You can use a stamp if you want. You can add no color. Some people use pattern paper. So there I have some color around my frame. The other thing I added to my frame is some of the little dots. So I used a red ink pad and the little dot stamp from Stamps by Judith. Now I did say that in the supplies list. A lot of you that have taken Judith classes probably have that stamp, but you can use any stamp. You can use no stamp. You could use a marker. And I've just added some dots periodically as on my background. And you can ink it up every time, or you can get it a little bit lighter and darker. And question.
How do you clean your brushes?
Oh, the brushes, to clean them. Between colors, well, I do keep one for like my greens, my blues, my reds, my yellows. You can just brush them off, but you can clean them in water, okay? Or with like Dawn dish soap and water. I take them right under a faucet, and I just rub my fingers on them until I get, or sometimes I rub on my hand until I get fairly clean water running. Now, these brushes are very dense, so you can't clean them, expect them to dry within a half an hour, and use them, depending on how wet you have them. And you can do them on a paper towel like that to get some of the water off, but they will stay wet for a good day, because I've done them in my hotel room the night before and planned on using them at a show the next day, and yeah, they were still wet. So do not plan on using them right away. Especially sometimes it's environmental too. Like you have a really humid environment, they're going to stay wet a little bit longer. If it's dry where you are, hey, they might dry a little bit faster. But yes, so I do have like one for all my basic colors. So back to our little dots. As many, you can go crazy with your dots or not. Now, one thing is, remember how I said, I'm going to take my masks off. Remember how I said that you don't stamp on this part? Well, on our sample, you can see that I have some stamping back there. So that just gives him a little bit of color. Now, when I stamped back here, I kind of want to be aware, let me find my acetate. I want to be aware of where he is going to be, because I don't want to stamp red dots where he will be. So I just kind of estimate. So now I opened that up and I know that he's right there, and I just want a few dots in this area right here. So you don't want to go nuts unless you want to see red dots in the middle of your whimsy gnome. Okay, just add a couple and we're just going to eyeball it.
Question. Sorry, are you on the bump side or on the other side?
Now I am on the bump side. So on the front, this is the indent side. I have my brush blending and my dots. Now I turned it over, because remember, this is the part we see through. So I just took this bottom part of my T, I folded that up. Now you could do my dots right through here. I can look at where my gnome's going to be, and I can do my dots through the window. But yes, earlier I just kind of opened it up totally like that. But let me just keep it closed like that. So you're on the front like that. Fold our bottom up. Place our gnome there, so you kind of know where he's going to be. And now we're just going to put a few dots on there. And if you need to check where Mr. Woodland Gnome is going to be periodically, so you don't get dots where you don't want dots, you can kind of just place him. And it just, then you don't have a bunch of white space in there. So, because normally I tell you, don't get any ink on there because you're going to see it through the window, which this time like I said, I broke my rule for the first time, just because I wanted to add a little color so I didn't see as much white space. But I am paying attention to where Mr. Woodland Gnome is. Okay. So that was kind of our prep work for doing our magic card. Now I'm going to put my ink pad away, put my blending brush and my blue ink pad away. So now we're going to go on, our frame is done for now, so set him aside. Then we are going to go on to our pre-printed gnome. Now, for where he is stamped on here, I didn't want to stamp him too close to the bottom. Had I stamped him too close to the bottom, and then when I line up my acetate one, my acetate would be hanging off the bottom. So I want to make sure that I stamp him kind of in the center here. And this is where I made sure, remember when I said that I had him kind of off to the side in the window? Because I wanted these words at the top, and had I done him in the middle, my words I would have cut those off. So that's why he's off to one side, so then I could make sure my words fall all the way within my acetate. So that's one thing you need to be aware of. Now, we pre-taped this for you. I did say for this class that you need a narrow adhesive, because up here you want a narrow adhesive, but we pre-taped that for you. But you will need narrow adhesive for the triple tier slider too. So what we're going to do, like, line him up so you know which side is going to attach down. We're going to flip him over. Now normally you would be putting tape up at this top edge. So this is the edge that actually pulls out of your magic card. So that pulls out of your magic card. Now some people say, can I do my magic card sideways and pull out? Yes, you can. But then you still have your tape on the side that pulls out. That's the biggest confusion for people, is if they do it horizontal and they are thinking to put the tape at the top, they'll put it at this top, the long way. Well, then it's not going to pull out. You always want your tape where you're attaching your acetate to your cardstock at the edge that pulls out. So since we're pulling up, we're putting our tape right there. So anyways, we pre-taped it for you. So line up your guy, turn it over, remove your backing. Now you're going to line up your acetate with your printed image. Always start lining up at the very bottom of your image, and then by the time you get it lined up, it's stuck at the top. Now it's hard for me to do this mid-air upside down. So I'm just gonna show you for a couple times, but you can go ahead and do it with me. So you took your paper backing off, line up your image, starting at the very bottom, and then go all the way to the top. And then your woodland gnome should be lined up, or woodsy gnome. Heather can correct me. I think he's called woodsy gnome. So anyways, I'm gonna now line mine up, and I'm gonna stick them down. So again, hard to do them upside down, but I've gotten kind of a little bit used to that, which when I started teaching classes, I wasn't doing it that way, but I've kind of moved more down to the table so we could get it a little bit closer up. So now we have him stuck at the top. Okay, now we're going to take a scissors, or you can use a personal paper trimmer, and we're going to follow all the way around. So we're going to cut and follow the edge of the acetate. Okay, so you're just going to follow the edge of the acetate, and if you're using a personal paper trimmer, you want to just do it flush with that edge of acetate. I like to use my scissors, but some people, if you're doing a personal paper trimmer, cut flush with the acetate all the way around. So I'm just going to keep going. So I'm cutting flush with my acetate. So cut it flush with the acetate, and you're going to cut it all the way around. And when you get to the side that has where it's attached, again, you're going to cut flush with the acetate. So now you will have your acetate attached to your cardstock at this very top edge where we had our tape line. You want to make sure to cut flush with the acetate all the way around. The next two pieces that we're going to need, is the scallop piece and your circle. Okay, so right now with our with our adhesive right here, we see a little bit of that, and it's not very attractive. So we're going to use the decorative piece, and we're just going to attach that, and you want to attach that flush to the top. And it does come really close to the words. We die cut these, and if they are a little bit further down, you can pull that up, and then you just want to trim it flush to the acetate. So if it's too wide right here, you can scoot it up, but then you do need to trim the red flush to the acetate. So I'm just going to do that so I can show it. I'm going to use my narrow adhesive. And I'm just going to attach and I could attach it flush to the top, but it's a little bit wider than I want. So I'm going to attach it a little bit higher up, but again, you want it flush. So we're going to trim, if you raised it up, we're going to trim it flush. And also on the sides, you're going to take the little snip off the sides. Some people try and bend those around. No, you want to trim those, so you want everything flush to that quarter piece of acetate. Now we covered up our ugly tape line right there. Now our circle gets attached onto the back. This is the piece that pulls up on the card. So we're just going to take and we're going to put adhesive on half of it. And we're going to attach it in the center. And sometimes you want it a little bit lower than half. You don't want it to stick up too far, because if it sticks up too far, like if I would have stuck that up too far, then it's not going to fit in my envelope. So if you're testing it, you can take your envelope and just kind of look, okay, do I have plenty of room there that this is going to fit in my envelope? So again, we attached our piece of cardstock to cover up our acetate. Everything is cut flush. We attached our shape, and I attached it a little bit lower than half to the back. So this is the front, this is the back. Let me get some of my garbage out of here. Okay, now the pieces that we're going to need is our die cut. So now we're going to take our die cut, and we have it colored on one side if you were coloring along with me. So this is our indented side. We're going to turn it over to look at the inside. This is the back side. And I had another one sitting here, which is an oval, but I'm just going to go ahead and draw on mine. I tend to draw on the stuff in class because then you can actually see where stuff goes. So you're also going to get out your slider and stop. So that's this piece. I'm going to talk about this just for a little bit. So this was die cut with this die, okay? And it has this little thing on there, which is a paper loop, which wrapped around it. I'm gonna get one out because I cut my piece of cardstock. So normally in the directions, and I'm just gonna show you, you're not doing this. I'm just gonna show you how to hand cut that if you don't want the die. Because the directions, before we had dies, this was like our very first die cut 20 years ago. And dies weren't available, so you always had to hand cut that. So the directions actually say to cut the top inch off, because you're going to use that to hand cut your slider and stop. So they say to cut that top 1 inch off. And then you're just basically, now you're just watching, you're not doing, because yours is already pre-done. You're cutting that into a tall capital I. So, and this is already 5.5 inches, so it fits our die cut, but we're just cutting it into a tall capital I. Again, you are not doing, you're just watching, because we pre-did this for you with the die. So now, we have our tall capital I. We have one of these side pieces that you're going to wrap it around, and I'm just going to go take that out of the way so you can see better. And we're just making a paper loop. So we're just wrapping that around, and that slides up and down. So I wrapped it once, and then I wrapped it again. I'm going to put tape right here. I'm folding this section over. So if you're making this on your own, this is how to do that. But with the die, you do get this die to make the paper loop, which it has a little couple scores in it. So it's really easy to do it. But if you're pre-doing it on your own without the die, you just want to make sure that you have a lot of extra space in there. Because, and I'm just going to trim that off, if you made this and you cut your paper loop to this distance right here and you get to a little bit wider, it's going to get stuck. So you always want extra space in your paper loop so it slides freely up and down. And then if you don't have it perfectly centered, you know, if it's off to one side, you have a little extra. So you want extra space in your paper loop so it slides freely up and down. So that, or you can cut it with this, which is what yours was cut with. Okay, so I'm going to set that off to the side. We're going to go back to here. So now we have our tall capital I and our paper loop. Now, they should be adhesive on one side, and then our paper loop actually adhesive down the other. So if yours is like this, which I think they probably all got done the wrong way, go ahead and just give a little push and kind of turn that paper loop around, because we want the adhesive on the other side. This is actually what they should be looked like, with your adhesive on the top and bottom of your tall capital I or your slider, and then on your slidey thing, you want it on the opposite side. So if yours had adhesive all on the same side like mine, which I think they all do, you want to just give it a little squeeze and just kind of rotate that slider, because you want your adhesive on the top and the bottom of the slider on one side, and then on the paper loop on the other.
Question. What kind of adhesive are you using that has the brown backing?
That is the adhesive that comes for the ATG tape gun. So before it goes into the gun, hang on, it looks like that, which is the same, like similar concept as the that red line tape that has the red backing on it. So basically the same thing, and sometimes I'll use that, but this is an ATG roll that just has the paper backing on it. So we did that because that's probably the biggest problem when I'm doing this in a class, is people are confused on where to put the adhesive, or they're using a wide adhesive and getting adhesive everywhere. So for our first time doing a magic card and teaching it this way, it's easier for me to put the adhesive on there, because then you can learn the assembly. Because in class, when I'm having trouble and people need help, I'm running around class with my tape gun helping people on where to tape stuff. So, but I can't do that virtually. So we did that part for you. So I do have, and this is just commentary, I do have one of the craft-alongs that I have coming up. October 3rd is making 2 Christmas magic cards. So I'm just going to show those while I have them. So it's making this one and this cute little gnome one. So this craft-along, it's called Magic Card Craft-Along. It's on the 008K page, and it's October 3rd. We are going to put the adhesive on one of them, and then the other one you have to do more of the work. So, because then you can get used to how to do it on one, and then on the other one you can be like, oh, that's what I need to do. And then when you go to do them yourself, then you've done now 2 of them, so then you can be like, oh, now I can do this. So anyways, this is a craft along coming up. And as far as our sale, the 25% is off everything on our website, except for class kits and craft alongs, which right now this craft along just went up on there. So the 25% does not go off of the craft alongs. Anyways, that's coming up. So back to our project. So we have our slider. We are going to attach that in the right-hand corner. So as it's facing you, it's in the upper right-hand corner. And like I said, usually I will color mine so then it's not white on white, and I forgot to do that. So I'm just gonna draw on mine pink. You're not doing this. This is just so you can see where mine is. Because usually I'll do it out of a colored piece of cardstock, and I forgot to do that. Okay, so, and it's gonna be on the inside of my card anyway, so you're not gonna see it. So you're gonna take the paper backing off of your top and the bottom. So remove your paper backing, and then that gets attached to flush with the top edge of the right-hand side, and then just smooth it out all the way down to the bottom, and it'll attach flush with the bottom. Now, if you don't get quite flush with the top, it might be sticking off the bottom slightly, then just take your scissors and trim that. Some people will, think they have it flush to the top, and they won't, and then they'll have it be kind of buckly like that. You don't want that. You want it flush to the top, and then smooth it out all the way down to the bottom. If it is sticking off that bottom a hair, just chop that off with the scissors. So again, take your backing off, and I am going to place mine down. Mine is pink, semi-pink with my pink highlighter, and just attach that, and it'll be flush with the top, flush with the bottom. So, and then, so once you get that attached, again, don't be coloring yours pink unless you really want it pink, but it's going to be on the inside of my card anyways. You're going to take your slidey piece, which now should have the adhesive on that side. It slides up and down, but we want to put it all the way at the bottom, and you want it centered left to right. So you want it centered. Now, so this is your belly right now, so you should have your T part at your belly. Okay, so this is your belly. I should put a little note here, your belly. Now I take my acetate and my cardstock, I use my forefinger, and I separate my acetate from my cardstock. And then I slide it on. So from your belly, you're going to slide it on. You're going to see your gnome upside down. So again, separate your cardstock from your acetate with your forefinger. Slide it from your belly up, so now your gnome will be black and white upside down. If you pull this towards your belly, you'll start to see him colored. Okay, you'll start to see him colored as you pull him up and down. And you're pulling towards your belly. Now we can fold him up, turn him over, and then this is what you'll see from the other side. And you can also give it a little test. When you pull him up, you start to see your words and him colored. Okay, so we're going to turn him back over, and so we're at this point. You made sure it worked. We are going to fold him up right now. Now, you shouldn't see any red up here, but if you do that, if like you're seeing red up there, that happens for either two different reasons. It either happens because your acetate may be a little bit long. Maybe you didn't cut flush somewhere. Because you're only putting your acetate down to the score. You don't want it past the score. So you can always take a little trim off right here. Or if you're doing it at home and you used a wider adhesive up here, then it's not being allowed to go down on this piece as much. So you could take a little, if you know you used a wider adhesive, which in this case we didn't because I adhesived it for you, you could take a little trim off of there. I'm just showing you why sometimes you might see a little color up here. Okay, so we're going to turn that back over. So again, we took our forefinger, separated our cardstock and our acetate. We slid it on that bottom part of the T from our belly up. We see him upside down. We're only sliding it to the score right here. We're folding him up. Now we have our slider at the bottom. So we're going to take that adhesive off, and then when we fold this over, it's going to stick right here, approximately. When it sticks there, now as we pull it up, this is sliding up together. This stops it from pulling out of the top. So that's what actually makes the magic happen, is because our acetate and our colored one come together. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove our adhesive backing. Okay, or if you didn't have adhesive backing there, you're going to put a little bit of tape right here. Now let's just talk about that for a minute. When you're putting your tape on the slidey thing, you want to make sure just to accurately get your tape on the slidey thing. You don't want tape hanging out all over because it's going to get caught going up and down. So right now we have our slidey at the bottom. We have it centered left to right. We exposed our adhesive, and we're looking at this piece. We're going to fold this in, and this is going to attach right to the back. So I'm going to do that, and you can do it with me. Now before we close it up, and I didn't push a ton too hard in case you need to re-see anything, you know, we pushed it on there. We can turn it over and we can pull it up. Make sure we see him in color up here, and make sure he doesn't pull out of the top, and then put him back down. So make sure he works. If he works, then you can go ahead and you can put tape right here. Now, let's just talk about this for a minute. You never want to put tape all the way around. If I have tape right here, it'll stick to the back of our piece that pulls up and down, and it won't move. You'll stick your card shut, and then there might be tears. So just put tape down this one side, the other flap that needs to fold in, and then fold that in. Again, do not put tape here or here because you don't want it to stick right here. So only put tape down the one edge and then fold that in. So now I'm going to do it with you. Tape down my one edge. Whoops, tape gun fell over. Sorry for the big bang, because we started out with no microphone and people had trouble hearing us. Now we have a super sensitive microphone which pretty much hears everything. So that may have been just a big crash on your computer, and I apologize. But I did put tape right here, and then I folded it in. And then voila, there's our magic card. Yay, it works. So now we're just going to talk about one more thing. You have a red piece that you can stick, since we're sticking it just in this border area right here, you can stick it flat down. You have mushrooms, which Heather's going to go through how to color them. I did, now if you wanted to, if you're not into fussy cutting, you could just attach your mushrooms. If you wanted to give them a red border, you could trim your red piece and put some at the bottom and some at the top. Now, if you're going to attach your mushrooms right on there and you're like nuts to fussy cutting them, you're going to want to only attach with foam tape, because if you're sticking something and it's covering up on the acetate, you only want it attached on the sides. Otherwise, if your foam tape sticks or your adhesive sticks to your acetate, again, you're going to stick your card shut and there might be tears. So anything that's going to overlap this acetate at all needs to be just attached with foam tape at the bottom or at the sides. I do like to use foam tape because if it's attached totally flat, we don't want this getting caught on it at all. So I do like, if I'm attaching anything that's going to overlap my acetate, I attach it so it pops up a little bit with foam tape. So on the picture sample that you have, I attached this flat. I colored and fussy cut out my mushrooms, and then I did attach them with foam tape because a couple of them go up over the acetate. But yeah, Heather's going to go through coloring the mushrooms with you, and if you want to fussy cut them out, knock your socks off. If you're like, no way am I fussy cutting those guys out. I think she has a die for one of them, and I could have misunderstood. She might have a die for the bigger one, but not the little one. But yeah, no, I just fussy cutted them. They weren't bad, or fussy, whatever I think I pronounced that wrong, but it's not fussy cutted. I think it's just fussy cut. I just fussy cut them, and you can always do that if you're sitting there watching TV. So that gets attached on there. That's that. So that is the magic card. Woohoo, you made it through your first card.
Okay, hi everybody. Hope you had fun assembling the magic card. It was actually the first time I've ever seen Sarah. I've had time to sit down and watch Sarah assemble a card fully. Normally we're at shows and passing as we're running to the bathroom or running to find something to eat or something like that. So it's wave and run. So that was kind of exciting. And yes, I do have the magic card sample she sent me. If you've been on our Friday Night Live videos, normally Dave is here and fielding questions. He couldn't get off work today, so we have Nathan. He will, Nathan, if you don't know, I should tell you, I'm Heather from Stamps by Judith. I always forget that. No, I don't forget who I am, but I forget to tell you guys. Nathan, my 13-year-old son, is our camera guy, so he will let me know if there are any questions. First of all, I know there was an error on the color sheet. I put 997. It was supposed to be 977. Apparently I can proofread but can't catch the mistakes. So if you get a chance, it's 977. It's a dark brown. I don't even have a clue if Tombow has a number of 997. We are using Tombow Watercolor markers today, and I'll be showing you how I blend them. And this is how Judith, who's my mom, taught me how to blend them. We don't use a lot of blenders and special paper. I love paper cuts paper, so that's usually what I use, or what I happen to have, but what I happen to have is always paper cuts. So that works. And thanks for joining us, because this was kind of fun. First time I've done a class with somebody, and to do it virtually is really an interesting prospect. So I think we'll get started. I'm hoping everybody refreshed. Obviously, if you're here, you did. And reminder at the end of my segment to refresh when we close out, then refresh again so you can go back on and see Sarah for the assembly of the triple tier and forgetting what it's called, the other one, the oval card. I think I'm going to start off, since you just did the woodsy gnome on the magic card, I'm going to start off showing you the color on this one and the mushrooms. And yes, they were fussy cut. Sarah was right, we do have a die for the mushroom, but it's the little one, not the big one. So we have a die. I wasn't thinking when we made the dies. This will be posted. This is all the marker colors for the images that are on the cards, the Tombows. I put a little color chart together, and I'll post that to Facebook. I'm going to start with the woodsy gnome. So there he is. I'll put the oval card out so we can see. I will get my colors out for him. And like I said, I have them right here. There's 761. It's a soft pink. 491. It's kind of a very light teal. 553, I think it's called Mist Purple, but it's a blue. 942, it's a soft brown or a soft teddy bear brown. 192 is kind of a mossy green. 856, this one is a red, but it's a little more of an orangey red. We will also use 847, and that one's a little bit more of a purple red. And then we will have the N95. That's a soft gray. Okay, so on these, I'm going to start off with my orange with my lightest colors. You always want to work light to dark, because if you put the dark down, you can't pull it away. So you always want to work light to dark. And Tombows are dual tipped. There's the brush end and a fine tip end. So you have your brush end and your fine end. Honestly, I rarely use the fine end. And the brush end, you want to work it just like it's a paintbrush. You don't want to take your marker, and one of my college professors used to call this noodling. Take the color and do little tiny brush strokes, because every time you overlap the color, it's gonna darken itself. So if you do little tiny brush strokes, it's just gonna keep getting darker and darker in splotches. And then you also run the risk of raising the nap of the paper and having your paper pill. So you want to be kind of bold with your brush strokes. And I have kind of I call it a flick. I don't do a hard start to a hard stop, because then you get this little overlap darkness, and sometimes when you hard stop, you get it on the other end. I flick, so I come and I kind of start above the paper and I flick it up. So I go down and up, so I have kind of a soft start and a tapering stop. And a lot of times that's my brush stroke. Or I will do what I call dots and dashes. They're just quick little flicks for little brush strokes. So I don't know if those are official Tombow ways of coloring. They're just ways that I've learned. So we're going to start off with the 491. That's that soft teal. And you can see, here's the quick brush stroke, and I went outside the lines there. I'm never been overly concerned about staying in the lines. In fact, I'm helping out at our school in the first grade, and I have a hard time when they have to stay in the lines, because I don't stay in the lines, but I know that's where they need to start. So there is my soft blue, or my soft teal, and you can see I'm getting it to darken just by going over it. So I have that. Then I'm going to come in with my blue. And I have another gnome here. Where did I plop it? I want to show you what not to do on him. Oops. Okay, I had him stamped. Okay, so this is what you're not going to do. You're going to come in. You're going to have it all colored. And then you want to shade with this color. You're not going to just come in and put that down, because that's not going to blend together. You could come back with a blender and try to do it, and what you're going to end up doing is muddying your paper, raising the nap of your paper. You can come back with the little one, the lighter one, and try to fix it, but you can see if I do that, there's the nap of my paper peeling right up. So that is not what to do. Now I have the nap of my paper stuck to my pen. Let me just get the fuzz off. Okay, so what you do, you take your lighter marker think of these as a paintbrush and paint. So my lighter marker is my paintbrush. My darker marker is my paint. So I'm left-handed. What I do is I hold what I would consider my paint in my right hand, kind of like this. And then you don't want to go above your card because I have a tendency to splatter. You take your lighter color and you pick some of the darker color off of it. And then you get it to blend. It does not hurt the tip of this lighter marker at all because, pick a bunch up, you can see it's there and now it's not. It fades off. It wears off and I'm back to my original color. You can get a little carryover sometimes on the darker marker, but not much. So I'm going to take this. In some places I've heard this referred to as the kiss method between the markers. So if you see the difference, right there, it was the blue, and see I still got paper everywhere. The blue put directly onto the teal and then trying to blend, and I got a mess. This one, it was the markers tapped one to another and then blending. And it makes a difference. And what's also nice is you can get a lot of marker colors out of just a few markers. If you are looking for a certain orange and you don't have it, you can tap your yellow to your red and create it. Or if you needed a medium tone in between a light and a dark, you can do that by tapping the two markers together. Now the markers will absorb differently depending on what paper you're using and where you're coloring. I'm in my basement right now and I noticed a marked difference when I color down here versus when I color upstairs, because my paper in the basement absorbs more moisture from the air and my markers take to the paper differently than they do when my paper is dry. And when we're not recording, I usually have a dehumidifier going down here and I can see a major difference. So what I just did there is I came back with the dark marker and deepened where the shadows would be, you know, where his arm was underneath the side of his beard, maybe the little shadows by his clothes, by his toes. So you could keep pushing that as much as you wanted to, but it's basically those two markers to get his little woodsy gnome outfit. And Sarah did have the name right. It is Woodsy Gnome, and the number is 0135. Right here. Again, there are the colors. Now, the color I started with is 761. That is the pink. If I don't forget or don't remember to repeat that, that is always our cheek color, our hand color. It just gives it a little life. Put a little bit on his toes. You don't have to color the whole thing in. It's okay to leave a little white. So we have that. Now, he has on his little hat, it's bright red and then the brown. I'm going to save my red for the end because I want to show you what happens if you put the red down and then you come back and hit it with like the light brown and the gray accidentally. You get that nice little pink streak. So when I'm doing red, I always save the reds for the end. That way I don't risk bleeding it off onto something else. So this is 942 for his little beard. And his little twig. And the twig is really a fun place to add flowers and things. So we got that.
Question.
Yes.
Martha is asking, How do you know where to do the shadowing? I am not good at it.
The shadowing, I'm assuming, Martha, you're talking about like the shadowing we sometimes put around things, or just the shadowing underneath. I kind of think, I don't know how we would say it, layers. You know, if you had your hand on your chest, you would get a shadow underneath your hand on your chest. It would just create a natural darkening. So when I'm coloring, I always kind of darken underneath things a little bit. I mean, yes, that dark is on the top part of his sleeve, but it's under his beard. So I would come under there, but if you think of like folds of a fabric, it's darker in the deep part of the fold. So like here, the fabric would go between his toes, so it would be darker there. I don't know if that makes sense. If you're putting a shadow around him, this is a soft gray, and in this case, if I'm doing the shadow, I would do it before the red hat. I'm not worrying about the light source. I just put the shadow around him entirely. And that pops him off the page. Now I can come back with his little beard and add a little bit of gray to it as well. This was the N95 gray. And there you have his little beard and a shadow around him so he pops. Now for his hat, I'm going to start off with the 856. It's kind of the orange red. So I have my orange red. And these two, I showed you how to tap the markers together. I don't really need to do it with these two. They are close enough in shade that I can kind of just put the two on top of each other. They're close enough but different enough to create the shadow. So I have that, and then I'm going to add some little green to his little walking stick. And there is your woodsy gnome. So we got him. Now the mushrooms. The mushrooms are fun because you can do them in all sorts of bright, fun colors, but I'm just going to show you kind of basic natural mushroom. So this is B61. I just have 3 colors. The N95, that's the gray, the 942, and the 856. So that's those 3. For the smaller mushrooms, instead of the 856, I'm going to use the 192. But we'll start off with these guys. I'm going to do my gray. Get it going underneath. These are very quick colors. And then I'm going to take my soft brown and I'm not even worrying about blending these necessarily. The only place I would is underneath. The mushroom is a little dark, but not real dark. So I'm going to take my tan and tap it to my red and let it fade off. Okay, and then I'm going to take my red and color my little red spots. So there's kind of basic mushroom, and now I have all these lids out and I gotta remember what markers they go to. Okay, so the little mushroom is these 3 colors. Mainly those 2, the tan and the green. Start off with my light tan, the 942. Then this is the 192. And you can see that little tiny kind of dashing brush stroke. I'm not coming down and doing that, and putting blobs, it's a very light touch. Sometimes the marker might just be grazing the paper, not really hitting it. And you can come back in with a little bit of gray. And that's all it takes to color the little mushrooms. They don't have to be a lot of color and spend hours coloring them. Okay, the turkeys on the triple tier card. I'm basically going to color the tuna turkey, the hat, and I have a trick for the hat, and then the little turkey, and then Sarah asked me to address the dots, so I will do that as well. So again, I have my colors down here. Here are my tuna turkey, that's hard to say, tuna turkey colors. 761. I didn't get my yellow out. 055 yellow, which has, oh, nope, it's just behind a piece of paper. 055. 985, which is one of my favorite colors. It's that golden orange color. 942. This is where the error was, where I had 997. It's the 977. The 856. The 847. The 133, which is a chartreuse. The 192. There's a lot of color on here. The 553 and the N95. So those are my tuna turkey colors. So here is my tuna turkey. Let me put a clean sheet of paper down. So I'm going to start off with coloring his cheeks, adding the pink to him. You can see it here. It's got a little bit of pink in his cheek. Gives him that little bit of angry look. And I'll put a little pink under his belly, or his bottom, I should say. A little bit under his arm. I could even put a little by his feet. Okay, so there's basically my colors. Now, like before, there's red on here. I'm going to hold off on the red till the end because I don't want to bleed it off on my browns. So I'm going to start off with my 942, my soft brown. And I'm kind of coloring the layers of the feathers. I'm not coming in and just coloring the whole thing, so I just kind of color him in sections. Quick brush strokes. And then I'm going to come up his feathers. Very quick. I am not a huge fan of taking a lot of time to color, so that is one of the reasons I like the Tombow markers, because I can color them quickly, do it well, and be done. Okay, since I have the brown out, I'm going to come in and color the stump. So there's my browns. If you want, this one has a little yellow in it. You can always come back. This was 062. You could come back and throw, I'm just going to put it on a few spots, a soft yellow. I mean, turkeys they can be all sorts of fun colors. Now we're going to do the blending. So we have the 942 and the 977. There's the 942, 977. If you put them directly on top of each other, you have that line. 942 is your paintbrush. 977 is the paint. So you pick up your paint and you blend the colors together. It's amazing that those are the exact same two markers, just how they're applied changes how it looks. So I'm going to come back in. And as for where we add the shadows would be kind of at where the breaks in each of the feathers are. Okay. And under the arm. And down where the leg would be overlapping the body. Where the feathers would attach to his backside would be darker than the tips. I'm going to actually just turn this just a little bit. Like I said, you can see that it's not hurting my lighter marker in the least to do this. Now the stump would be a little darker under his hinder because he's sitting on a stump creating a shadow. Now I'm going to come back in with my dark marker, the 977, and where the deepest shadows would be. And they're different tones. I mean, this one's a little more on the yellow tone. I probably had grabbed originally a different brown. Oops, that was not. You got to pay attention to which marker you have in which hand. Got a little darker than I intended. I had the wrong marker in my hand. That's why I always kind of hold the one I'm using as paint in a strange way in my hand so I don't accidentally goof them up, but I still do. But you would just keep building up the color. If you wanted it...
Well, everyone's saying that it went blurry.
It went blurry. Can you get it back into focus? It's pixelating or it's blurry?
Blurry.
Just zoom out a little bit. Is it still?
Melinda's saying, are the girls using the internet?
Nathan will run upstairs and check. When my girls try to sneak on the internet when we're down here, it has a tendency to pixelate out. I'm going to just hang on a second, grab the camera. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Oh, better, good, perfect here in Illinois. Okay, I couldn't read the questions. Hopefully I didn't. Well, hopefully you guys can see. I can't see your comments at the moment. Nathan's checking. If you want a little bit of yellow, you can actually, this is one where you would do it reversed. You would take the darker color. I can hear him coming back down. He'll let me know. Well, he's a teenage boy. Hopefully he's coming back down. He has a tendency to get sidetracked by things. Were they off?
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe someone just drove by with their internet.
Do you want a quick check? Some people were saying it was better. You let us know, is it better?
Yep.
It's better? Okay. We had a momentary...
Maybe someone drove by that had our password.
Yeah. Okay, so this one, if you could see it, I did this one reversed. I actually did pick up the light onto the darker marker. So that's when you have some colors, you can do it that way. And then that one rolls off and it's clean. I could keep blending this and getting it absolutely perfect, but I'm going to give you, this is the general idea. Now for feet and legs, and you can spend hours coloring one image and getting it blended. I'm not going to do that here, keep you forever. But here is the 055. This, like I said, is my favorite color of orange. It is the 985. And when I was learning how to color, I was struggling with my blending. These were the two colors that I figured it out on. So maybe I'm kind of partial to them. I figured it out with the yellows and the oranges. I don't know why I could see it better than I could other colors, because these two blend together very nicely. It gives you a nice blended tone. Okay, so I have my yellow, orange, and my yellow blended, and then I'm going to come back in and add deeper areas. Check my colors, get the right lids back on the right markers. I'm going to add a little bit of green. This is the 192. And then when we do our greens, we always add the blue in. It's just a little more of a natural look. And then I'm going to add that chartreuse green. It's the 133. And that is what is on the can too. A little tuna can. And then the yellow is on the tuna can. And our little fish on our tuna can is dark brown, and our tuna is dark brown. For the can, oops, I just realized I didn't color his hand that's holding the can. So I'm going to come back in, add a little bit of brown. Okay, the soft gray is the color on the fork. And you can always use that soft gray as kind of an intermediate blending tone. So we have that. We don't want him floating, so I'm going to put a little brown underneath. And then the last step are the reds. Like I said, I didn't want to bleed my red into the browns. And I'm going quickly on this. So you'd have the reds, and you'd come back in with the deeper red just to shade it. And that's the quick overview on coloring your tuna turkey. Now, the little turkey at the top, he doesn't have a ton of color on him. He's basically the grays. So we're going to get rid of the dark brown, get rid of the green, the blue. I'm going to start off with that 761. Doesn't have a whole lot of pink on him, but we still got to give him a little bit. I'm going to come in with my soft gray. This is the N95. And the images, my mom, I know, colored, I think, the tuna turkey, and she does color a little bit differently than I do. So her color tones are just a little different than mine. Okay, so we have that guy. Where's my dark brown, or dark gray? Oh, right over here, my dark gray. I'm just going to deepen the edges a little bit. I'm actually not even blending these too much. And then I'm going to take my light gray, tap them together for close to his body, behind his head, because you want his body to pop off his tail feathers. You could bring your dark gray, add a little definition to the tail feathers. we got that. A little bit of dark gray under each segment of his body. Because he's smaller, you don't have a lot of area to color him. Oops, I just put 2 lids on 1 marker. Okay, we're going to do his legs and his feet. The 0.55. And then come in with that 9.85, the golden orange. And then deepen it just a little bit up by his body, his feet. And then the last step, and actually I don't even really need the darker red, just because the red on here is not a lot. You don't need to blend on this tiny itty bitty little area. So there is our basic little turkey. Now the hat is basically the 2 grays, the brown, and the golden orange. So you start off with your light gray, and I am doing this quickly. You could tap your markers together, but this is a very small area, so I can actually get away with blending directly to the paper. Color the little bit of orange. A little bit of brown for the hat. You can actually take, if you wanted to, the darker gray and make the band dark.
Oops, I have to zoom out. I'm very close.
Have you been very close the whole time?
No, just to the hat because it's so small.
Oh, okay. I wanted to quick show you, this isn't on the color charts, but to just sometimes think a little bit differently, because it's a pilgrim hat or it's a St. Patty's hat. Just depending on the color of it. So color it green and you have your little St. Patrick's hat. So that's just a little offshoot. So there's your St. Patty's hat. Now, Sarah wanted me to mention the dots. She had the dots just kind of lightly stamped here and there in colors. That is a perfect way to do it. So I'm going to stamp the dots in a couple different ways. Okay. Okay, so here's my yellow. That is how she did it on the cards, which is perfect. You can do that. Or you can take your dots in blue, because blue doesn't overwhelm things. Then you just lightly tap your dots all around things to create a little bit of atmosphere. Or, I mean, that's for background. Or you can get a little carried away and slam the daylights out of your dots. Take another stamp and create a flower. So, sorry for the little bit of the blur in between. We'll post this, the color chart, on, I'll have it, maybe I'll just post it right to Sarah's page. But that's basically the coloring. I mean, with her brush blending, you get the beautiful backgrounds, the little chicken feet. You can just add a little bit of yellow. You don't, there's not a lot to coloring. I know she added the color around the words on some of these. But basically, it's not a lot of colors for the Tombow markers, and you get a lot of color just by doing the blending, tapping it together, the tip to tip. Be aware of the paper
Question.
use. Yes, question.
Linda asked, what ink do you use for the dots?
Oh, the dots can be any, I use dye-based inks. I'm not a fan of the pigment inks just because I over ink. So I like the Color pads just because for the little stamps, I have all my colors there quickly. When I'm stamping basic and coloring with Tombows, you want to make sure you're, this is a quick drying pad for watercolors. You want to make sure you're stamped and that kind of thing so your ink doesn't run. But yeah, any dye-based ink is what I use for the dots and all the little things. So just a reminder, when the video is done, to hit refresh, and Sarah will be on in a couple minutes and show you how to do the assembly of the triple tier card, which I will have to admit is probably my favorite, and the assembly of the window card. Yeah, so it was great being with you guys all today, and again, sorry for the little bit of the blur in the middle. Gotta roll with technology sometimes, I guess. And we will hopefully see you guys another time. We have Friday night live videos, which if you're interested in coloring, I do a lot of coloring on those. Those are at 6:30.
One question.
Oh, one question.
Melinda is
7:30.
Melinda is asking, do you have Calypso yet?
No. On our website, we do not have Calypso, just Spectrum. And I was wrong on the time. I can't seem to get this in my head. It's at 7:30, not 6:30. Yeah, so have a great day, guys, and have fun assembling the triple tier card.
Hi everyone, Sarah back here again with you. That was pretty exciting. I'm not, I color with Copic, so I've never really used the watercolor markers, but I didn't know you could do all of that stuff with them. I think I had them years ago, so I might have to get some more now. I'm kind of more of a Copic girl, but that was really interesting how you could like do the tips together to get different shades and blending, and who even knew? Because like Heather said, we always just see each other, you know, passing by. I'll be running by her booth, hey, how's it going? And then running back the other way. So it was really interesting to watch Heather and how she does coloring and stuff. So that was a lot of fun. So while people are still refreshing and finding me, I'm just going to talk about the sale code. So our sale code goes all week. So it's sale 25 is the discount code. You need to enter that in. Even if you order multiple times, you need to put the code in each time. So it started today. It goes through the 19th. So don't worry about going on right after class unless you want to go get some stuff while you're remembering. But then you can add on to your orders. So if you are ordering multiple times and we're shipping to you, make sure to select the add-on. But if you are picking up, make sure you select the pick up at warehouse on every order. But if you are ordering and you're adding on to an order that we're going to ship, make sure you select add-on, and that's during the shipping drop down. It's going to bring up a shipping charge, and then there is like a drop down arrow. Click on that, and I think the second one is add on to order already in, or add on to another sale order. So click that for your second order. For people picking up, you'll always, in the shipping drop down, you're going to select pick up at warehouse. On the 19th, we have pickup from 8 until noon. You can come and you can pick up your order. If you're comfortable, the front room that we normally have our cash registers in is going to be open. So you can walk up the 3 steps, come in, pick up your order, say hi to Ron because he'll be there. Or if you're not comfortable, I gave you phone numbers in the newsletter that you can call and we'll come out to your car. I'm going to have some numbered stalls that we can come and find you, bring your order, collect your payment, because you can pay when you pick up. So you can, if you're picking up, you can either pay online ahead of time, or you can select, I think it does, I don't think it says COD, I think it says hold order, pay at pickup. So all week long, you can add on to your orders. If you see something you like each time, you know, feel free to just add on, because you're not paying that minimum shipping each time. It might add on a little bit more shipping just to go up in box size and weight, but it's not going to be the minimum shipping every time you order. So hopefully you've all found me. Let me know if you're all there. We're going to be doing the triple tier slider, and again, Heather has my sample. I didn't redo my sample, so
Question?
Question.
Do you have on the website these kits individually?
For the class kits, I do not have them individually. One thing is this class. This is the only warehouse sale class that we are going to redo. Heather, we sold out of it, and Heather had a lot of people on her lives asking for it. So we're going to reteach this class with these 3 cards on October 3rd at 10 a.m., which I'm doing another event that day, so I need to talk to them and find out if I can be in the afternoon for the one-of-a-kind event. But we're going to reteach this specific class October 3rd. So if you didn't order a class kit and you're watching and you're like, man, I really missed out and want to do these cards, the kits, I'm going to get those back online. I made it inactive when they sold out, but I'm going to make it active again probably later on today. And on our class page, you can order this kit to redo, but not as individual cards, just as the kit of the 3 cards.
Question.
Another question.
What is the metal plate called that you have on your die cut machine?
The metal plate, let me grab it. And I've been using this. This one is, this is 11 gauge stainless steel. I have them in 2 sizes, 6 by 8, I think, that fits on the Big Shot, or I have the 8 by 10 that fits on the crossover. It is just called metal plate. If you search plate, P-L-A-T-E, the 2 plates will come up. If you search metal, you'll get all kinds of metallic papers, so go ahead and search plate. It is under, it's kind of hard to find, paper basics, and then I think accessories, and then there's all kinds of alcohol inks there, and these are at the way bottom. So search plate and you'll find the 2 different sizes. But yes, it's a 11 gauge stainless steel plate that never bends. You get those other ones that get all bumpily. And I've tested this with a Big Shot. I've tested it with the crossover. So it is the same thickness as one of the Big Shot plastic plates. But I haven't tested it on other machines. People have been asking me about a certain, it must be a new Sizzix machine out, but I haven't tested it on other machines. So, but you can ask people that have these. Like, I know there's some people on this feed that do have these, and they say they love them. So maybe they've tested them on other machines. I only have the 2 machines to test them on.
I've tested it. If it begins to warp a little bit, I just flip it over.
Well, the metal ones get all crinkly. So anyways, so now I think people have probably been able to find me by now. So now we're gonna start the triple tier slider. So we're doing the triple tier slider card. And if you did not get all of your coloring done beforehand, that's okay, because you can do it after your card is done. So you can still go ahead and assemble with me. Okay, so we're going to bring the camera down. Okay, so in order to start assembling, all we need to do is to pre-assemble. We need to start with these 2 pieces, the one with the little bird feet on it and the one with the little turkey on it. And I did some brush blending on mine. So if you want to brush blend on these 2, you do need to do it before we start assembly. So I'm just going to do that really quick, and then I will get to how you set up your table for assembly. So For brush blending, I went through this earlier. I hold the tip of my brush, my thumb behind the tip of my brush, circular motion to pick up color, circular motion to put color down. Start off on scratch paper because you don't want something too dark on your final product. So if you're doing brush blending with me, you do need to do this before we go on to our little bit of assembly, or before we start our main assembly. But you can finish coloring. You can do your coloring later. So like your turkey you can do later because you can just do it after it's assembled. And then on the feet, like Heather said, you could add a little bit of yellow to your feet. And again, you can do that later. And then on the front of the card, we have this guy, which he's on the front. Oops, I just got some ink on there. I must have ink on my hands. That's okay. We'll cover that up. Anyways, you can do that at the end too, because yes, that was probably a little bit fast for me if I was new to coloring. So you don't have to worry about having your coloring done. You can still do the assembly with me. And oops, I think I did it in more brown, but I'm going to take some dots and just put some dots on there. I also didn't know about the dots, about doing dots in the blue just around my image. I probably go like way too much dots. So just adding a little bit of texture. So anyways, I did a little bit of brush blending and some dots, and that's all you need to have done before we start assembling. So I'm going to just set these off to the side, and we're going to set up our work area. So with the triple tier slider, it's this package right here. So it comes as a 5-count kit, and this is what you get in your 5-count kit. You get the different tiers. So this is the front of the card tier, this is the middle tier, and then this is the top tier. Let me get some of my ink pads out of the way. Okay, and then you get the bands, the paper bands. So set them up in front of you, and let's see, you can either put your bottom at your belly, so this would be your belly. You can go ahead and put your bottom at your belly, and you are going to put your bumps down on the table, and then your tape tabs will be at your right. Okay, so set them up in front of you like this. And the reason we do that is if you set them up this way, there's a bigger gap down here, and you can visibly see that you have your slits here, okay, and you can see that that gap is a little bit bigger than at the top. With this middle tier, it's harder to see the difference, but it is slightly bigger down here than at the top. So if you set it up this way with the bumps down and your tape tab to the right, then you make sure that you have your bigger gaps at the bottom of your card. Because when you pull up, like this is our middle tier, when we pull up farther, where if we have our bigger gap at the top, you know, and we're pulling this way, our tier stops further down. So this way we get to pull further up. So set your cards up like that, and what you're going to do, and I'm going to do it with you, is you're going to just attach and layer your tiers as they're shown in the picture. And on the back, you do have your different tiers. So your top tier is layered like this, and I am going to do it with you. I'm just setting it up right now for how I am going to attach things. Your middle tier is set up like this. And don't worry about putting your other smaller pieces on there yet. We'll do that at the end. And don't worry about all the lines. I was just showing you where the scores are, where the slits are, where the tape tab is. And then the front tier, you're just going to set up like this. So go ahead and get your tape gun out, and I'm gonna do it with you. And you're just gonna tape down all of your layers. Now it is important, and I do put tape all the way around on the back. I don't do it solid, but I just do it all the way around because you don't want any of these edges to get caught as they're sliding up and down. So go ahead and attach your tiers, and I'm gonna pull over mine and attach them at the same time. So I have my top tier, and go ahead and attach your red layer. And again, I do go all the way around with my tape, and I get it fairly close to the outer edges. If I get it hanging off the edge though, I do want to roll that in. I don't want it hanging off because then it will get stuck going up and down. So go ahead and attach your layers. So kind of follow along with me, and you're just attaching your layers. Again, you don't have to have all of your coloring done, but you should have your brush blending done. Just because it's harder to do that once it's attached. So there's our top tier. The one thing about our top tier is we also need to put a little pull tab on there. So kind of how we did the magic card too. You want to make sure it is taped fairly well because we don't want this to be loose and get stuck as it's sliding up and down. So I'm going to go ahead and put tape on a little bit more than half of that. If you have tape hanging out, go ahead and roll it in. And I'm going to attach that to the back of my top tier because this is a little pull tab that we're pulling up and down. Oops, I did that pretty crooked. Well, I'm not seeing very good upside down. Okay, so we have our top tier, and then you can go on to your middle tier, and let me just move my demo one out of the way. So now I'm going to attach my layers again. Why I just turned over my red sheet of paper before attaching it, I don't know, just force of habit. It's the same on both sides, so I don't know why I did that. I just tend to turn paper over, so we're attaching that. So our red layer gets attached, and then this layer. Again, do not worry about attaching these two, and we'll talk about that later. So go ahead and attach your chicken feet. Again, using your two-sided tape. Oh, I can see comments this time. They're sideways. So last time I had it going, I got it going the right way, so I wasn't watching myself sideways. This time I'm watching myself sideways, and I can actually see comments. So Susie, I actually learned something about coloring. So did I. So even as the teacher, you can always learn stuff. So now I'm on my bottom tier, and this is actually the front of your card. Take my demo one out of the way. So I'm working along with you, and ignore my little splooch there. Yeah, I did it again, turned my paper over. Force of habit. So the colors that I'm using, this bottom one is called Basis Light Brown. It's an 80-pound cardstock. We have a number of different browns, so there's a lot of browns you could have used, like Craft or Fossil. And then the red is a little bit deeper red than what I use a lot. I use Wild Cherry a lot. This one is True Red, so it's a little bit deeper. I just decided I needed a little bit of a change from the Wild Cherry. I seem to get stuck on the same colors all the time. And then I move on, and then I get stuck on those colors. So we have our front layers, and again, you can color after. So you can actually attach him and color after, or you can just set him aside and wait to attach him.
Oh, Cindy did not get the word pieces or the hats.
So Cindy, we will send those to you in the mail. I forgot to address that at the beginning. And yeah, I don't see your comment, so I must not be getting all the comments. I forgot to address that at the beginning of class. Sometimes when we're kidding, you know, it's all done by human hands, so there is human error that sometimes happens. So Cindy, I will send you your word layers and hats. So actually I think the hat is just part of the word layer. So there's the Happy Thanksgiving, and there's the Thanksgiving isn't just for birds, and that's a hat is already on there. So we'll send you the word layers. I don't know if you're missing just the words or you're missing all of the little word layers. Just comment and we will get those in the mail to you. Okay.
The tiers are bumps up or down?
The tiers are bumps down. So the tiers are bumps down, and your tape tab will be on the right. So this is your belly down at the bottom of the table. Bumps down, tape tabs at the right. Another question, I think.
Heather Granger, where do you go for fantastic sale? You can't answer that.
Where do you go for what?
Fantastic sales, Heather Granger.
Oh, Heather. You go to the paper cut for fantastic sales. So, anyways, now we have our 3 tiers. We have our slits. So, and we're going to actually turn these over. So turn it over, turn it over. So now you're looking at the back. Your colored side is down. Now, you do have tape tabs. Yours are not pink like this. I made mine pink just so you could see them. So yours are white. Okay, and we are going to just feed our tape tabs through our slits. We fold it in and it folds over. So we're going to put tape. So if I would have put one on there that was a white one, my tape is written upside down, but your tape goes right on the top of that tape tab. So I'm going to put tape on top of my tape tab. You want to be fairly accurate with your tape, and if your tape is sticking out, so tape on top of your tape tab, fold this other little guy over. Okay, so this is our band. So it's kind of a bigger paper loop. When we had the magic card, it was a little paper loop. This is another little paper loop that slides up and down. So I put tape on top of my tape tab and I fold it over. And then I put it at the bottom. So again, you slide your band through there. I'll just take another colored one. I used my pink highlighter and I colored them for you just so you could see the difference. Fold it over, put tape on top of our tab, and attach it. Now you only put one. I was just showing you another one. So again, and you're going to do that on both. So I did it on my middle tier. Now I'm going to do it on my big tier. So I slide it through the slits. So the slits are kind of hard to see. So you have your slits. I should have different colors of highlighters up here. I have my slits. I slide my band through the slits, fold it over, put tape on top, and then fold it down. So go ahead and do that with me. Slide it through, fold it over, put tape on top of your tape tab. Tape on top of your tape tab. So now we have our band that slides all the way up and down. We want to put our bands all the way at the bottom. So towards your belly, if your belly is right here, make sure you put your bands all the way at the bottom. And these are the ones that we attached our layers to. So we have our colored side with our layers facing down. With the exception of our little top one, because we're going to start working on that one right now. We put our bands all the way at the bottom, and that's the bigger gap. So right here is the bigger areas at the bottom. It's hard to see that bigger area on this middle one because it's about the same. But what happens is when we pull it up, we lose less, where if we pulled up towards this big gap, we would lose more of that tier. So put our band all the way at the bottom. Then you're gonna, and you wanna just watch for 1 second. You're gonna put tape on top of your band. And I'm gonna draw some X's there. So I'm putting tape on top of my band, and then I am putting my image facing up. So even though that one's facing down, now when I'm attaching my next, so my top tier is going to my middle tier. And I'm attaching it flush with this top edge, and then it will stick to the tape. So it's actually going to stick right down here. So face up on our top tier and flush with this top edge. Our band is all the way at the bottom, and I put tape on it. So the X's, that's where you're putting your tape. Make sure it's all the way at the bottom and kind of centered, if you can kind of feel that centered in there. And then you're going to attach it flush with the top down to the bottom. Now when I fold this in, you're going to fold it, but you don't want to just willy-nilly fold it. There is a score right here, so you want to make sure that you fold it on your score. It's going to want to, maybe I'll make it black. It's going to want to fold at your slit, but you're going to take your hand and make sure you fold it at that score. Make sure you fold it score. You're going to fold it in. Now we want to just pick it up, and we can see that it's working. So we fold it back over. So this is what we're looking at right here. Our band is all the way at the bottom. Now we have our tape tab right here. We're going to fold our tape tab over, and we're going to put tape on top of our tape tab. Now this is where I said to have a narrow tape gun, because this I think is exactly a 1/2 inch. So if you're using a wider tape gun, you might have tape sticking out. And whenever you're doing slidey things, you never want tape sticking out. So we're going to put tape on top of our tape tab. I am using a 1/4 inch tape, but I did put 2 strips because it is kind of big and bulky. So I want to make sure that it holds down really well, because there's a lot of bulk in here. So when you're doing this, kind of take that into account. You don't want to put tons of layers. Now I did. If I had text paper that was this true red color, I would have used a text paper, because that will put less bulk there. So I have my tape tab. I folded it over. I put tape on top of my tape tab. Again, I'm going to fold at my score and then stick my tape tab down. So I'm just going to repeat what I did from the beginning here. I attached this layer face up to my band, folded at my score. Don't fold willy-nilly because you don't want it to fold at the slit. Fold that over, fold my tape tab in, put tape on top of my tape tab, and then I fold that and attach it over to that side. Give it a good push, and you can pick it up and make sure it's working. Now we're going to do the same thing with our bottom tier. So we have our middle tier, our top tier, and our bottom tier. Again, we're going to put tape on top of our band. So make sure your band is all the way at the bottom. Make sure it's kind of centered left to right. So all the way at the bottom, centered left to right. I'm going to put tape on my tab. So now we're just repeating. Again, face up. You want to line this edge up with the edge of our tier. So the top edge of the middle tier lines up to the top edge of the bottom tier. Centered between the two scores, or between the score and the edge of the paper. And again, you have a score right here. And we're going to fold this. When you fold it, don't willy-nilly fold it because it's going to want to fold on that slit. You want to make sure that you fold on that score. So fold on that score and fold it in. So again, we attach this to our band, fold at our score, and fold it in. Now repeating again, fold our tape tab in, put tape on top of our tape tab. Again, you don't want tape hanging out. So fold in our tape tab, put tape on top of our tape tab, fold on your other score, and then attach your tape tab. Give that a push. Now there is a lot of bulk in there, so give it a good push. And I guess I should have done my brush blending on the first one too. So if you followed along with me and forgot, this is how you fix that. So the instructor doesn't even always do everything right. Sorry about that. But I should have done my brush blending on there. Post-it notes. They're a staple in my stamp room. Or brush blending not necessary. Okay, now, so we have that. Now remember I said not to attach your words right here? I didn't want you to attach them because if you would have attached them in the middle of that panel, they would have been low. So now that you see the space that you have right here, now you can attach those in the middle of the space rather than the middle of the panel, or wherever you want, if you want them higher near the top. So again, you do not want to use foam tape to pop up anything on this layer. And that's why I did give you a piece of text. So this is our gold Star Dream text weight paper. You want to attach these nice and flat, especially at the bottom. If they're loose, they'll get caught when you're sliding it up and down. So you want it attached nice and flat so it doesn't get caught. So go ahead, and if you want to attach that layer, or if you want to do any brush blending on that layer, you can do that. Oh, question I think.
What white paper are the turkeys stamped on?
The turkeys are on our 80-pound white Cougar Opaque. So I use that Cougar Opaque is my go-to paper basically for everything. Heather uses it for her Tombow markers and her watercoloring. I use it for my Copics. We do have a 100-pound Cougar Opaque also, so if you like a little bit heavier weight, but I just use the 80-pound. It's a very reasonably priced paper, and where you could use the Neenah Classic Crest for Copic coloring, this Cougar works great. So I don't think you need to spend the money. I mean, do I want you to buy the more expensive paper? Yeah, but just being honest with you that the Cougar is a very reasonably priced paper. It's a hard paper, It's a super smooth paper, so it's great for all of your stamping needs and works good for the watercoloring and works good for the Copics. So the Cougar is just my go-to paper. So,
Question,
sure, question.
how do we know what's on sale?
Everything is on sale. The only thing that's not on sale is the class kits or craft along kits on the class page. Otherwise, everything is on sale. You use the code SALE25 during checkout and it'll give you 25% off of your order, with the exception of those items on the class page. So the sale items are on sale, the regular items are on sale, all the items are on sale. Just make sure to use the code. If you don't use the code, then none of the items are on sale. So use the code. Oh, the tornado sirens are going off. Well, not, I think they're just testing it. They test it on the Saturdays. So anyways, we attached that. And then for our Happy Thanksgiving layers, see, I think that'll cover up my little splooch. You can trim that gold piece if you want, which I'm going to trim just a hair off of there.
The sale is sale 25?
The sale code is SALE25, correct. And you do need to trim the width of these. Our trimmer, like, I can trim one small width, but I can't trim both directions small. So I did take and I trimmed my Happy Thanksgiving on the ends. So the sale goes for a week. It goes till the 19th. You can use that sale code as many times as you want. And like I said, if you're picking up at warehouse, make sure you pick up at warehouse. If you are ordering multiple times and we're shipping it to you, just make sure to select on your second order, or third or fourth or fifth, make sure you select add on, and we'll add that onto your sale order. We're holding all sale orders and starting to ship those next week. So in theory, this all sounded good, and I think it's going to work good for you. And if you're having trouble ordering, you can always email me. I'll be checking probably my email all weekend long, with the exception of the Packer game. I may actually not work at all and not have my computer in front of me. Oops, I got splooched on there too. I must have dirty fingers. Imagine that. So we're just going to put some dots over that. There we go. So you're going to just attach your layers together.
Where is the add-on code?
There isn't an add-on code. It's during the, when you're in the checkout page, which is also the payment page. The discount code is first on that page. In the bottom left-hand corner, it'll say coupon code. Fill in that box. Then right below it is the shipping drop-down. So on the shipping drop-down, click on the arrow, and under there, select add-on. And it's not going to add on the minimum shipping. It might add on a small, like $2 or $4, or depending on how much you add on, but it won't add on the larger shipping amount. It'll just add on like an add-on shipping amount. And then right below that is your payment, where you can select MasterCard, Visa, PayPal, or you can select hold order, pay at pickup. So if you're coming to our warehouse on the 19th to pick up, you can pay at pickup, or you can just pay online so it's all taken care of. That's up to you. So I did pop this guy up, my word right here. That's, if you're going to pop anything up on this card, you can pop up on this front layer, but don't pop up on your tiers. So join us also on our main Facebook page. This is our class page. So on our main Facebook page, Monday through Thursday at 6 o'clock, and I'm going to announce a flash sale item every day, and then we'll be doing different things. So on Monday, we've got a warehouse sale tour. On Tuesday is when we are doing our Impression Obsession die cut layered cards, and hopefully Mitra from Impression Obsession will join us for a little demo, but I know she's got stuff going on, so she might not be able to join us. I'm hoping she can. And Wednesday we'll be doing our super specials sale, and Thursday is our Rubbernecker Clean and Simple class. And then Friday we'll be back here on this page, on our virtual class page, for our cards class. So, anyways, we have our triple tier slider.
Question. What do we click on our first order? USA Priority or add-on?
On your very first order, click on the USA Priority. That's going to charge you shipping. And then your add-ons, your second order, your third order, your fourth order, you can hit add-on and then it won't charge you the minimum shipping. So, okay, now I'm going to put this one away. We're almost getting there. We're going to go on to our window card. And this is an A6 card. The gnome, I thought he worked better on an A6. So it's a little bit bigger than your standard A2 size card. And in the kit, it's a trifold window with the window in the middle. We do have A2 trifold window cards. We also have this in a rectangle. We don't use these very often, so that's why I thought this will be kind of fun, because this window kind of frames the gnome really well. Okay, so what I did first was I used a brown ink pad and I did some brush blending. And this time, instead of going from the outside of my card in, I went from the outer edge of the window out. And if you don't want to get ink on the other two panels, you can go ahead and mask those off. If you don't have Post-it notes, I suggest going to Office Depot or somewhere and getting some, because I use them constantly in my stamp room. So, let me go back. So you don't have to, if you have your Post-it notes on there, don't worry about it. But so this is the front of our card. So some people wonder, like, window cards, what are all the panels for? So this panel actually folds behind there, because we're going to attach this piece behind there, and then it kind of looks a little bit, you know, ugly. You see where that's, or if you use different colors, you see the different colors back there, where this panel that's on your right ends up folding behind and covering up the back of our gnome. So if you have a picture, like, you could put a picture there, and then our other panel folds in, and then you have a fold over card. So, like, if you put picture in there, so you put a picture in there, this right hand panel is covering up the back of your picture, and then the other panel folds in, and then you have just a fold over card. So these are really nice cards, especially if you want to do your own photo cards for Christmas, because you can just get your pictures printed and put your photo in there, finish it off by folding that behind it, decorate on the front however you want, and then you have made your own handmade photo card for Christmas.
Question.
When
is the best time to call to be put on the list to get kits?
For this class kit, I'm actually going to post them online. I will try to get them online today. Otherwise, our office is open Monday through Thursday from 8 until 4. That's when I'm for sure here. I quite often get into the office much earlier, and I quite often stay later. But I can always guarantee you that I'm here from 8 until 4, Monday through Thursday. I also, when we were traveling, I was never in the office on Fridays, but now with this, I'm always in the office on Fridays. And I typically answer the phone too, unless I'm out in our warehouse.
Then your mama will answer.
So, and then my mom will sometimes answer the phone, and sometimes she's hard of hearing, so
She's always hard of hearing.
So, well, she's always hard of hearing, but so if she's having trouble hearing you, that's why. So, anyways, I'm just gonna brush blend, and again, instead of brush blending from the outside in, I'm gonna brush blend from the inside of my window, because then I'm really highlighting the outside of that frame.
Can I let my cart sit idle all week
Oh,
and keep adding on to
That
it?
is a very good question. If you can let your cart sit idle. You cannot. Unfortunately, my website is kind of old, and your cart will disappear. It'll disappear overnight. So I do apologize for that. That is a wonderful question. So yes, I am hoping to upgrade to a new site in which you can save your cart, or you can do a wish list type of feature where you can put stuff on your wish list and save it. But right now, yeah, my website is not great at that. So I do apologize if you've lost your cart and you started to put stuff in yesterday and you went back today and it wasn't there. Sorry. So yeah, thank you for asking that question, because that's a frustration. So anyways.
Melinda Morning says, "Go Bears."
Go Bears, yeah. Okay, Melinda.
Oh, Nancy says, "Never mind. Home team will win tomorrow, so you don't need to watch."
Because Nancy, you're from Minnesota. So yeah, no, I don't think so. We'll see. Actually, I think the Vikings are rated higher in their division than the Packers. So, anyways, but yes, I will not be answering questions during then. I will be watching the football game. So go ahead and brush blend as much or as little as you'd like around that frame. And then I did add the dots. I've probably had this dot stamp forever. I was glad I found it. Another question, I think.
Nancy Cloud said she thought you said you could add to the cart all week. No,
Oh.
you can't. You have to.
You can add to your order all week, but you can't add to the cart. So
Well,
you
then-
can place multiple orders and add to your order. It's just your cart cannot sit all week. So you'll be placing multiple orders, and I will combine them. That's why when you pick add-on in the shipping drop-down, it's not going to add on the minimum shipping charge that it normally would if you ordered multiple times. So I probably didn't make that clear. I apologize for that. So now, so we have our outside. On our woodsy gnome, I just added a few dots to him too. I don't have a blue ink pad. Oh yeah, I do have a blue ink pad up here. But I'm just gonna keep going with my red. Okay. So now I'm gonna take my Post-it notes off of there. All very good questions. I probably need to address that on my main Facebook page. So now we are going to flip this over, and we are going to use tape around our window and just attach him in. Now, if you want, you could use foam tape around the window, and that's just going to add a little bit of dimension there, just so he looks, you know, you have dimension between the window. It looks a little bit more matted. So I'm just going to add a little bit of foam tape, which isn't necessary. You're probably wondering where I'm grabbing my foam tape from. So if you come to classes in my warehouse, next year, obviously not this year. You guys are joining me this way. I sit for a couple weeks while I'm watching TV and I put foam tape on ribbon spools, pre-cut for my classes, because then it's not taking as long adding your own foam tape to cards, because that seems to be something that takes a little bit of time. So yeah, I pre-cut these for classes at the warehouse sale and my make and takes and stuff. So, but it's kind of fun because if you pre-cut some foam tape and just have it in your stamp room, it's easy to just grab. So, just a little fun tip for pre-cutting your foam tape to make things go a little bit faster. If you need to go fast. Sometimes I do because I'm making a card last minute. So now how to get that kind of lined up. You can turn it over.
Question.
Another question.
Teresa Smith wants to know, are the score lines up or down?
The score lines, the bumps are always the inside of your card. So when I had it this way, the front of my card is always the indents. And that's typically the rule with pretty much everything, with the exception of when you're doing an accordion, because then you have them folded. They all have the bumps going the same way and you're folding them opposite. So my indents are up, my bumps are to the inside, and that's just a standard rule of thumb. So now to get my gnome kind of centered where I want him, I just put a little bit of foam tape around and I am just going to attach him. Just give a little bit of push so he sticks. And then I'm going to take my right hand side and that's going to attach behind. So now I want to make sure I put tape on the correct side. So as you're looking at it, it's the right hand side and I'm holding on to that one. So now when I flip it over, if I stay holding on to that one, I know tape goes on this side.
Question.
Another question.
Melinda wants to know if you were using that for the foam tape.
If I was using, not sure what you're meaning, Melinda. So I have my ribbon spool. So this is an old ribbon spool, and I cut my foam tape. I buy big rolls of foam tape, and I cut it into thirds. I don't have my big roll of foam tape up here, but I usually have a big roll of foam tape, like that big, or that big. I don't know, it's pretty big. It's like $45, $50 for the big roll of foam tape. And the tape is, I think, 3/4 inches wide, and I cut it into smaller strips, and then, you know, cut my things. Or sometimes it might even be just this wide. Maybe that's 3/4 inch, and then I just cut it straight across. So, and then I just attach it to my ribbon spool, so then it's all ready to go for my warehouse sale class peeps and my make and take peeps. So I have my gnome attached, and this is my right side that's folding behind. So I held on to it, turned it over, put tape on there, and then I'm just folding that in, and then that kind of covers up your back, and then you have your fold over card. This is my little rickrack trim, and you do have to cut that to size. You can tape it on there and then cut it, or you can cut it and then tape it, doesn't matter. Just make sure you don't have any tape sticking out. So I attached that, and then I usually just follow the edge of my paper.
Melinda explains bumps this way. She says bumps are to the inside because when you score the cardstock, the indentations are where the paper has been broken down a little so it can fold cleaner.
Oh, yes, that is correct. Mm-hmm. Yep. So when we do our tour, you'll actually see our machine that's scoring the paper. So we have a couple different scoring machines, and that is correct. The bump is on the inside. So, and the indent is on the outside. So, and that's a good way of explaining it, Melinda. So I attached our rickrack trim. For our words, again, we were able to cut this width for you, but you're going to cut off the ends if you want it shorter. Or if you want to leave it like that, you could put, you know, gems on there or whatever, but I'm just going to snip those off. And if you want to use foam tape, you can use foam tape on there and just pop that up. I'm going to just attach it down, and then I'm going to pop it up when I attach it to the front of my card. So, have you all enjoyed having a co-teaching class? This is the first one, and wasn't sure how it would work going from one to the next, but I thought it worked out pretty well. And then you're not just listening to me the whole time. So it was fun learning some new coloring techniques from Heather. So I hope you've all enjoyed that. So again, on here, I'm going to attach it with foam tape, and I'm only going to put, I could have raised my gnome guy up a little bit more. I probably should have done that because I'm going to cut off his feet a tiny bit. But I'm only going to put foam tape. I don't want to attach the foam tape when it goes up into this window because the depth between, because I put foam tape here, I'd have to double layer my foam tape. So I only have my foam tape on the bottom and on the two sides. So yes, I should have raised him up just a tiny bit. Then I wouldn't be cutting off his feet. So, and then on this one again, I took my mushrooms and I hand trimmed a little bit of them out and just attached them. So
They're loving the dual class, Sarah.
good, good. I'm glad you enjoyed that. So it was fun. So we'll have a dual class on Thursday for sure with Rubbernecker's Clean and Simple class. I'm going to get on and I'm going to show you how to cut a Z-fold card. And then Dave's going to get on and show you the color fusing pads and stamping Clean and Simple. On Tuesday, I will show you the Impression Obsession die cut layered cards, and then hopefully we'll have Mitra on there demoing. She's got some new stamps that she's working on, so hopefully we'll have her demoing for you too. Usually I carry different companies at our sale. So I thought since you can't come in and I'm not going to have the different companies that I normally have online, I thought it would be fun just to get the companies and to do something together. So yeah, it's been so far so good. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Nancy says, this has been great. I cannot imagine the challenge you had putting all the kits together. What a logistic nightmare.
Yeah, the kits were, yeah. It was kind of touch and go whether we would get them out on time. And then I did oversell cards, so we had to re-kit a bunch of those. My parents helped me. Ron's mom came in and helped, and we kind of had full crew here working on kitting last week and this week. So if you're still waiting for your cards kit, it is on its way. Because those people that signed up for that one individually, we just got those out because that's a whole nother week before that one happens. So anyways, thank you for joining me today and for joining Heather. If you want to order this class kit, like I said, I'll get this one posted live sometime today. So you could, if you want to take part in this class on October 3rd, even if you did this one and you just want to repeat because you want to make another set of cards, you can. But again, the classes and the craft along kits do not count towards you don't get a discount off of those. And every time you order, make sure to use the code SALE25 in order to get the discount, because even if you use it one time, the website won't automatically give it to you the second time. You need to type in that code every single time. Click on the shipping drop down to click add-on for your second, third, fourth, fifth orders. And if you are picking up at our warehouse on Saturday the 19th or can't make it on that day but still want to come, make sure to pick up, and then you have the choice of paying at pickup or prepaying online. So thank you for joining us today. Join me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Time on our main page, and then I will be back with you on Friday on this page. Thanks much. Have a great day. Bye.
And live video and